Hey guys, what's up? Nature from Protoculture and Shadow Chronicles. Back again, you're at Sonic Academy with another how to use video. Today we're checking out one of my favorite delay plugins. It's from Valhalla DSP and it's the Valhalla Delay. Let's take a look. Right, so here we go, Valhalla Delay. It's a fairly simple little user interface which we're going to cover in a sec, but don't let the simplicity fool you. There's a lot going on under the hood. You can do stuff that's fairly mundane right through to quite out there sounds. I've just got a little saw wave patch in Anna programmed just for the demonstration, and this is what you can do. With some of the more out there sort of patches. Let's just run through the controls quickly and just take a look at everything. They vary from mode to mode, so we'll cover those last. The mode selectors over here. You have the era, which also varies from mode to mode as well. This basically, in some of them, will increase a little bit of noise or add a slight distortion, amp modeling and stuff like that. In some of the other ones, it changes the behavior of the reverb slightly, of the delay slightly. Your preset management is down here. Then the sort of standard controls that you'll see in most delayed units, you have a mix dial. The style knob, which we're going to come to in just a second, which controls the behavior of the delays. Your delay time, spacing, this we'll cover in a sec because that also pertains to the style mode. Feedback of the delay, the stereo width at 0, you in mono. At negative, it actually inverts the stereo field. Then you have a drive to run it through distortion chain, yeah. The age also just adds in noise, as you can hear, sort of in the background slightly. Then there's a diffusion engine as well, which we're going to take a look at. In actual fact, we can just take a listen to what that sounds like now. We'll grab the default. If we turn up the diffusion, it's actually one of my favorite reverbs this at the moment with this diffusion engine on. The mod section, this varies from model to model as well. In the case of the tape delay, we've got a wow and flutter, and then the EQ at the end, low and high cutoffs for the EQ. So let's just take a look at the style mode first. In single mode, I'll just turn off our diffusion. In single mode, you have one single mono delay. Here you can set the time base, so you have the milliseconds, which is going to be obviously be free running. You can set it to note, dotted or triplet notes to lock it into your DAW's tempo. And then in the single delay, you have a spread mode as well, which induces slight delays on the actual delay routing signal itself to kind of spread it out into the stereo field. But they are still a single delay each time. Moving on, we've got dual. Each one of these have their own separate time base. We can stick that one onto dotted notes and set that to eighths. So you have an individual setting for each of the left and right delay times. Then we have the ratio mode, which basically you set your time base on the left at a ratio of 100. It'll act just like the mono delay, but bringing that down to say 50%, this will result in it being a quarter and an eighth note. And this is kind of handy for subtle shifts in your delay patterns. If you want to loosen up the delay slightly, you can even sort of induce a slight sort of chorusy effect on the delay itself by just using a small ratio like that. And turn up the feedback around here as well. It sort of also induces a sort of pseudo reverb. We'll use a shorter time bass. Cool. And the last two modes, we've got a ping pong mode. You can also set an individual time bass for each of these as well, but the feedback of each one will go to the right and then to the left and so on and so on. Ping ponging the two. We'll actually use the same, so you can just hear the result there. That's the ping pong. And then lastly, we have a tap delay. So if we have the set to repeat, you set your time bass for the taps at sort of, if we set this to 1, you'll hear the delays are on each quarter at the moment. So it's basically split into 4, divided by 4. This would be 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters at 1 time bass. Now, changing the spacing between the two will actually skew the delays in favor of either the longest delay or the shortest one. So if we're going backwards, take a listen to the result. I'll just reduce the time bass quickly. So you can see the taps sort of skew towards the last one. If we move this forward, they'll all cluster at the beginning on the first delay and spread out as they get further to the last one. You have another mode for this as well. If we set this on to swell, you'll hear the difference here. It changes the way the feedback works. And you can get some sort of nice pseudo reverb effects with this as well. The feedback does build up quite quickly with this as well, so if you use quite a bit of modulation on this, you can kind of stop it from feeding back too much, because if there's no mod on that at all, you can hear it builds up very quickly. So by actually turning up the depth, you can get that feedback to go a bit longer before it starts freaking out a little bit. There you go. And then you get that nice lush reverb tail at the end of it. So that covers the style modes. Now we're going to get into the fun part here. Also, just before we head into that, let's just take a look at the era. So you have settings past, present, and future. This basically, in some of them, just induces a little bit more distortion and some artifacts and stuff. It depends on each mode as well, though. The ghost mode, for instance, this actually affects the sort of diffusion engine as well by changing those era settings. But let's dive into the different modes. We're going to kind of just go through each one of them and show you what it does. So the tape is basically based on an old Roland SE201 and 301, I believe, the Space Echo. So it's an older model tape delay. Let's just hit play and we can take a listen to these. Let's set up an 8th and a dotted. Changing the wow and flutter. Bring up a little bit of feedback. The wow and flutter basically just simulates the movement of the tape in the delay. So then we've got a HiFi, which is also it's also a tape, but it's sort of a high fidelity tape, a later model, not quite as dirty as the Space Echo. You'll see this one, in this case, has a mod depth and rate instead of the wow and flutter controls. You can also change the age on the drive for different results as well. You can hear some distortion occurring there. We'll just dial back on the age. You can hear that crunchiness is kind of dissipating there. And there's quite a bit of hiss and noise as soon as the age is turned up. Let's move on to the BBD, or the Bucket Brigade delay. This is sort of similar to some of the guitar pedal delays. This is definitely a dark tone, has quite a reduced frequency response in the high range. So let's just take a listen to this as well. Notice that even with our EQ turned all the way up, you're still getting a very muted sound. Let's play with the drive on this one as well. Listen to the feedback. Right, so that's the Bucket Brigade delay. The digital is kind of reminiscent of sort of 80s delays. It's not quite just plain digital. It's got a bit of crunch and a bit of sparkle to it. I'll take a listen to this one. Turn down the drive. We'll move on to the Ghost, and this is where things start getting a little bit more interesting. So the Ghost is a tape delay as well. However, instead of the mod section, we have a frequency shifter built into it. We'll take a listen to what that sounds like. So the frequency shifter is it's not a pitch shifter. This basically shifts the harmonics of the delay line up. We can take a listen to that now. So subtly, we can detune it, or we can just go full mental and turn up the this one, the past, present, and future actually affects the diffusion engine here as well. So let's just reset that again and just take a listen. So you can hear some frequencies actually sound earlier than other ones in the future and present. It kind of just gradually increases as you go up in these. So we'll just take a listen again. And the future. Cool. And then moving on, we've got the pitch delay. So this is similar to the Ghost one as well. It doesn't have the mod section, but we've got a pitch shifter put into the delay line as well. Let's go up a whole octave and take a listen to what that sounds like. Once again, this one's really interesting. As soon as you start inducing some of the diffusion, you get this sort of, quite similar to Valhalla Shimmer as well. It's a pitch shifter before the diffusion comes in, so take a listen. Let's shift down in the opposite way. We'll go full octave down. Okay, that is our pitch mode. We've got the reverse pitch next, which is similar to the last one. However, this reverses the delay line as it sounds. So let's just turn off the diffusion again. We'll take a listen to just the plain reverse delay by itself first. We'll actually do a slower delay for this one. And then you can shift that reverse as well. So we'll go down to -12 again. Take a listen now. I quite like the sounds that you get when you go down an octave. It extends out the reverses quite a bit as well. And then with the diffusion as well. Okay, so the last three modes we're going to check out are Duct Tape, BB Duck, and Clarity. So these are new additions since the latest update. They're all pretty similar to their counterparts except for Clarity. However, they feature a ducking knob that allows you to duck the delay under the incoming signal. We're just going to check that out on a vocal quickly. It's really handy in that kind of scenario. So I've got Duct Tape currently. Just initially just check out with the diffusion on, and we'll set our ducking to maximum. So you can hear our reverb sort of comes out after the vocal subsides. And this is great as well for sort of feedback loops and catching the tail of the vocals as well. We'll leave the ducking at full again, or almost at full, and just drive the feedback towards the end of the vocal. Check what happens. So we have the clean vocal, and then that feedback loop sort of comes out towards the end, catching to the tail, which is a really nice effect. Lastly, we're just going to take a look at Clarity, as this has a little special feature to it as well. Also featuring the ducking mode. However, this has a limiter built in the color section here, which allows us to drive it really, really hard. I'm just going to set the EQ slightly, and let's whack the drive up, and we'll sort of dial this feedback right into dangerous territory all the way up the top here and see what happens. Here we go. So even at 200%, the limiter is kind of keeping it under control. So this is fantastic for sort of doing long feedback loops that works with the diffusion as well, if we keep that on. So you can create these sort of beds of feedback loop running with the delay. That pretty much covers all the modes for this, and brings us to the end of how to use Valhalla Delay. I do recommend you go check this out. In my personal opinion, it's probably one of the best delays out in the market at the moment. Just bang for the buck, and the feature set that is on hand here, it really is a fantastic little plugin. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch you guys soon right here on Sonic Academy. Cheers.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.